Hey guys, welcome back to our third lesson on vectors, and today I'm going to show you how to add vectors. So with vectors, we can add two or more together to find a single vector. The best way to actually show you this is to do an example, but we're going to add them like we add one and then the next one goes right after it. I'm going to show you how we can actually do that and a strategy for doing this. So let's do this example. Consider the two vectors u and v. Now, most of the time, they do have these little arrows on it. I just haven't been able to figure out how to do that in the publisher. But anyways, so we have vector u going this way and vector v going this way. In order to add them, what you're going to do is you're going to take vector u and draw it. So I'm going to try to go exactly the same. And the idea is that you have your tail here and the head here. And then what you're going to do is take your V vector, put the tail at the head of it, and draw that one on. So I'm going to try to draw it almost the same. And so this was vector U. Sorry, I put a V there. This was vector u, and this is vector v. Now, notice that this one is tail up to head. So you're going to put them head to tail. Now, what happens is we get what's called a resultant vector. And so the resultant vector goes from the tail where we started up to the head of where we finished. And I'm just going to draw it on. And there it is. So there is our resultant vector. And this is vector u plus vector v. So we're making triangles. There's a couple things that we need to keep in mind when we do this. If the vectors are in the same, if they're parallel, and in their same direction, then u and v will have the same direction. So that's like if u is here and v is like this, same direction, all you're going to do is make it longer. So that's u and that's v. If you have two parallel vectors, u and v, but they're in opposite directions, they'll have a direction. The vector will have a direction with the larger magnitude. So, for example, let's say this one goes this way, and then we have one that goes that way. When we add them together, what's going to happen is that our resultant vector is actually going to go this way because that's the longer or larger magnitude. Adding two opposite vectors will result in a zero vector. So for example, if they have the same magnitude but they're going in opposite directions, when we add them together, they're actually going to cancel each other out. So then we end up with what's called a zero vector. There's also a couple properties that I kind of want you guys to be aware of. Because the commutative property just says that u plus v is the same as v plus u. So it doesn't really matter which vector you start with. As long as you put them head to tail, you're going to get the same answer no matter which way they're oriented, okay? Associative property says that u plus v added together, then plus w, is the same as u plus v plus w. So again, it doesn't matter what order you add them in, you're still going to get the same answer. And the last thing is our identity property, which just says that if you have vector v plus a zero vector, you're going to get v back, which is also equal to the zero vector plus v. So if you add a zero vector to it, you're just going to get the same thing back. A quick reminder, you may need to use sine law or cosine law to find some of the problems. Notice up here, I made a triangle. If I know some of the magnitudes and the angle in between, then I'll have to use the cosine law. I might also need to use the sine law. So keep in mind that, again, trigonometry comes up with this stuff. If you need a review of the sine law and the cosine law, just go back to Unit 4 to those two lessons and watch the video there again because it's exactly the same thing. Just remember that when you do the answers for these, you have to have a magnitude and a direction. So make sure that you remember that you need to have a direction when you're doing this. If you guys want me to do an example, let me know. I'll do another video and I'll put an example in. I'll also try to find one for you guys. So that's it for adding vectors. Try the practice stuff and I'll be back. We'll look at subtracting vectors. Bye, guys.